Hi all, welcome to this session on expanding delivery of services, special education itinerant teaching. So I'm going to talk to you about a few things and I couldn't be more excited. So thanks for checking in on this session. Oops, that didn't click over. There we go. So an introduction, who am I? Then what is a SEIT? So let's make sure we're all on the same page. How is it being used currently? And I think the most exciting part is how you all can get involved. So hopefully you stay all the way through this presentation and you get to the end bits where we're going to talk about, I am going to talk about an opportunity for you all to get involved, possibly with the new SEIT Academy that we're beginning. So a little bit of background, I'm an assistant professor of early childhood special education. I am here at USC, hence why all the garnet and the USC logo down at the bottom. But before I was here, I was a duck at the University of Oregon, where I did my PhD in special education. And even before that, and sort of how and why I got into the field, for about 8 or 9 years, I worked as a preschool special ed teacher in a therapeutic nursery for 3 to 5-year-olds who had experienced significant early life trauma. I also spent some time as an assistant principal at a Head Start program out in Oregon right before my PhD. And I actually was a SEIT. I don't have this in there, but I realized when I was looking back over my resume recently that I was a SEIT for quite a few years, and I'll talk a little bit about that and my experience there. My research interest is in professional development, specifically looking at the sustained use of evidence-based practices in early childhood classrooms and supporting teachers in being able to promote the language and communication skills of young children. Also, another little fun fact about me, I coordinate the early childhood special education program here at USC. So if you have questions and you're interested in maybe getting additional coursework, or you know someone, undergraduate and graduate, email me. I'd love to talk and get you started, get you enrolled. So what is a SEIT? Well, let's define itinerant. I Googled this right before because I was pretty sure I knew what it meant, but just to double check, it means to travel, or in a noun form, a person who travels from place to place. So this is a special educator. You typically find these folks working in early childhood settings, so about birth to 8, birth to 5, and they're going to provide special education not in a self-contained class or a 3DD, 4DD style class like we might think about, but rather in the home or community-based setting. We're primarily going to talk about the provision or the providing of supports in a community-based setting in this presentation. And so what does a SEIT do? And that's what we'll be referring to it going forward. They provide guidance and support to the child's family. They are going to offer indirect and consultation services to the students' general education professionals to support their progress of their IEP goals. So this is unique. This is what's a little bit different. This special education teacher is going to be able to provide supports and consultation to the general or the regular classroom teachers. This might be a child care worker, a daycare provider, a Head Start teacher, wherever they might be in a community-based setting. And you might be thinking to yourself, like, is this for kids who have maybe more significant disabilities, or perhaps speech and language, some minor speech and language delays? It really depends. And, this is an opportunity, as in providing services through an itinerant model, is to be able to provide supports to all young children who qualify for special education services in a community-based setting. So again, and that might look like, when they're providing consultation services, by modeling and demonstrating and practicing specific techniques, like using first-then boards, visual schedules, what other types of supports the child might need in order to be successful in the classroom that they're currently in. They're going to engage collaboratively with related service providers to make sure that the student gets the same support that they would need across settings. So if they're receiving speech, OT, PT services, really working with those professionals to communicate from them to the general education classroom and make sure that any modifications or accommodations are made and supported in there, including whatever other goals they might be working on. They're going to encourage the students' self-regulation skills as well as social emotional support. I actually did a lot of this in one of the SEIT cases that I had in New York. I worked with a little girl, I'll call her Zoe, in a childcare setting. She was there from about 7 a.m. to about 5 p.m., 5 days a week. And I saw her, and on her IEP was 10 hours a week of SEIT services. So I was with her and in the classroom 10 hours a week. Now, I wasn't always working directly with her. Sometimes I would be meeting or on the phone with the teacher in order to provide consultation and recommendations and trainings around how to use specific interventions in order to support Zoe in this process. And much of what we were doing was around self-regulation for her and her ability to attend a little bit longer during group activities. So really supporting her in that. We want to make sure that the SEIT would also work on the student successful interactions with both peers and adults. So they might work on social stories and designing those, and then teaching the general education teacher and supporting them in how to use those kinds of interventions to help promote those successful interactions. Of course, they would complete progress reports, annual reports, and they would contribute to the development of the IEP, all that sort of good stuff. And I'm down there, if you'll see, if you're interested in reading a little bit more, here are some of the sort of common articles that we would see here related to additional work in SEIT research. So breaking down delivery, what does this actually look like? Okay, so you've gone to your IEP meeting and they've discussed that part of the least restrictive environment would be a community-based setting, and we're going to provide services directly, or we're going to provide services directly to the child, not in a self-contained 3DD or 4DD class, but rather, let's say, in a community setting. This is the most common for children ages 3 to 5. So we're in a community-based setting, and maybe they're going to go to Fuzzy Bear Daycare. So we know they're going to go to Fuzzy Bear Daycare because that's where their brother goes, and that's where the family would like the child to attend. So the school district has said, we're on board, we're going to provide these services. So that's the location of where they're going to be receiving their services, is in the community. Now, the classroom teacher is going, or teachers are going to provide and be the direct teacher and instructor, or the interventionist. And the special education teacher is going to be the partner to that. So they're going to come in, they're going to observe in the classroom, they're going to see, what does this child need in order to be successful, and how can I provide those supports to that classroom teacher or teachers. Another SEIT model, and this tends to be with younger children, so under 3, so before they leave the home typically, this would be a home model. And I did a little bit of this as well. I worked with a young child who was about 2 years, 9 months, and I provided in-home services. And so here, the partnership was between the parent and I. And here is where I was working both directly with the child, but then also in tangent with the parent to support the child's development and focus on their IEP goal development. So those are some of the things. So again, when we think about it, we're in the IEP meeting and we've decided that the least restrictive environment, the best thing would be to include this child in the community and in their environment, in their natural environment. So we're going to select community-based, and then the district would then provide direct special education services in the classroom, in the general education inclusive classroom. And then that special education teacher would then provide supports with the actual classroom teacher or teachers that were there on a regular basis. So again, I sort of talked a little bit about this in my last slide, but these are sort of when we think about community-based placements, and that's where I think, and research sort of shows us that that's where we're sort of seeing the most success in SEIT models. So in the itinerant model would be a community-based placement. And again, that could be a Head Start, that could be in a religious-based childcare, that could be in a home childcare, wherever it happens to be. And then the district would then provide a special education teacher that would work, and they would offer indirect or consultation services to the student's general education setting, whatever that happens to be. Whether it's the United Baptist daycare that they go to, or it's Mary Beth's Fuzzy Bear Daycare, or a Head Start setting, all of which they could receive itinerant services in. Um, yeah, man, I wish this was a back and forth. I'm recording this and I had like a whole script, and I miss presenting live because I keep pausing and thinking you all are going to raise your hands, and maybe you're thinking things right now. So I hope you email me if you have questions, and so that I could talk to you more about this. But I'll keep going in my presentation, but just know I keep sort of pausing, thinking you all will jump in. But I'm here, so email me, please, 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 if you have questions or want to know more about this. And I have this little diagram over here, which I think is really helpful because we have both the special education teacher and the in-class or the general education teacher, for lack of a better term, but the early childhood educator. And they're going to work together as a team, as in they will share information together and in partnership will provide direct services. And sometimes the special education teacher, the itinerant teacher, will do some direct instruction with the child in the classroom. And part of that might be by working directly with the child to model for the teacher what the expectations are and how to use a specific intervention strategy. I keep using sort of first then boards because those are really common, but maybe you're going to have an individualized schedule because the classroom teacher has noted that the child is really struggling in understanding what the expectations are at circle time. So then the special education, the itinerant teacher designs something in collaboration and then models it by using it directly with the child in the classroom so the teacher can see how it would be implemented. And then they would sort of work in tandem to figure out what's best for this particular child. So cost of services, this is a little dated. You'll note it's 20 years old, and I acknowledge that. But if you want to pause here and sort of take a look at the cost of services, because I think that sometimes we can get a little stuck, and I get it. Look, I was an admin. We often want to make sure not only are we providing best services, but is this one-on-one going to cost us more as a district when we are getting ready to provide those services? And if you take a look here, you'll see IT is itinerant, and then TT is team teaching. So that would be a general ed and special ed teacher co-teaching at the same time versus itinerant, where the teacher, the special education teacher, travels from location to location, rather than team teaching where they're going to be together. And if we see here, and we look at the cost to school districts, this is per hour over here, we're going to see that on average, itinerant teaching in community-based versus traditional, so these would be sort of self-contained 3DD, 4DD classrooms, is significantly less, at least for this program. And this article is Odom et al. 2001, where they go into the differences between inclusion versus traditional programs. Now, if you're here, my guess is you are already on team inclusion. So that's why my presentation is not here to teach you or sell you on inclusion, but rather to open up the idea of another model for inclusion, which is community-based settings. So if you take a look at several of these, we're going to see that the cost per hour tends to be less than a traditional setting. And not always, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but on average, we tend to see that it is significantly less expensive per student, and they get to be in an inclusive setting in their community, which for all of you out there playing along at home, we want inclusive settings for our young children with disabilities. And this is a great model in order to be able to provide that on our continuum of delivery of services. So this is going to sound like an infomercial or a pitch, and partially it is. So I talked a little bit about SEIT and what an itinerant model would look like. And here's, I think, the exciting part. This is where you can get involved. And this is sort of what we're taking a look at. You all know that Skippy's done a phenomenal job of promoting inclusion in a variety of early childhood sectors. Part of a larger federal grant, the Preschool Development Grant 0 to 5, that we need to extend and expand on these programs and making sure that more early childhood sectors have inclusive classrooms and opportunities for young children with disabilities. So, in collaboration with the Department of Education, Part B 619 coordinator, and the Skippy project personnel, very exciting, USC is going to develop and implement a series of courses to prepare early childhood special education teachers and district admin. That's right, both groups, because here's the thing, if we train teachers but we don't bring admin in, we need to make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody's getting the same content information to implement an itinerant model as part of your continuum of services for preschool children with disabilities. The plan is to support you all who are interested in trying to figure out what is an itinerant model, how would you implement it with community-based programs within your school district. So I think this is incredibly exciting, and I just want to talk to you a little bit more about sort of the nuts and bolts of the SEIT Academy, which is what we're calling it. And I am the leader or the coordinator of the SEIT Academy through this professional development grant, along with Dr. Heather Gouge, who I'm sure you all know. So in this current phase, so where are we right now in the SEIT Academy? We're currently working on developing the coursework. It's a non-credit certificate program. There'll be 3 courses or workshops, extended expansive workshops. The first one is around instruction in inclusive settings. We'll be using the building blocks as our guiding instructional framework. And if you want to know more about building blocks, I can talk to you about that. It's a well-established evidence-based instructional framework for inclusion in early childhood settings around the designing of instruction, implementation, and even progress monitoring. The second course would be around partnership in inclusive settings, and this is using family systems theory to drive consultation and coaching. So we would be working and training and supporting early childhood special educators and admin in how to work collaboratively both with the family, but also with daycare providers or childcare providers. So we want to make sure that we're also including those groups as well, because as I mentioned, when you think of that little triangle, it's both of those adults up there at the top that are going to be working in tandem in order to support the development of the young child or children that are in their classroom who have an IEP. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? So we want to work on partnerships. And the third part is the social emotional supports in inclusive setting. This is going to be grounded in the pyramid model. I'm part of the master cadre for the state. Whoop, whoop. And to include specific instruction around tier 3 supports using PTRYC. And so really thinking about, so when we have this child or children in community-based settings, how as a SEIT, as an itinerant teacher, am I really going to be able to support the potential challenging behaviors that we may see in classrooms, and in particular in child care settings? So how can we support the staff, and what is the framework that we're going to use? So this isn't just talk and theory, this is action. This is, you are going to walk away with the ability to implement and conduct itinerant models in your districts. So next phase, what are we doing next? Well, we're going to work with Skippy and the Part B 619 coordinator, and we're going to develop and implement a recruitment plan, because here's the thing, we've got great ideas, but we need folks to come and participate and be a part of our team. We're working on finalizing the dates for course offerings and to enroll our first cohort. We're anticipating spring of 2021, and I'm going to guess late spring, April, May-ish is when we should look to begin. So what can you do? You can email me. That's what you can do. And I have questions here, but you're probably going to email me. So I would say pause here, jot down my email, send me an email, let me know what you need to know about the SEIT Academy. Again, this is a unique opportunity to think outside those boxes. How can we provide the best quality, most appropriate special education services to our youngest children? How can we further advance inclusion in the state of South Carolina? The SEIT model is one way that we can do this. And if you're not sure where to begin, that's when you contact me and I will work to get you on board. So hopefully you can be a part of our SEIT Academy. And we will support you as classroom teachers, or if admins, if you're watching, you as administrators of what would this look like? What's the cost to me? What are we going to do? How does this supposed to look? That's what you're going to get trained in. That's what we're going to support you in. And it's not a one and done training. We stay with you. We're going to support you as you begin and start and plan your SEIT model in your school district. So I look forward to hearing from many of you. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are watching this video. And congratulations if you've made it to the very end. I'm glad I didn't bore you. I'm sorry I can't see your faces. I wish I could have engaged with you more during questions. So I hope you were like shouting out at the computer all sorts of questions that you have. Take those shout outs, email me, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Bye-bye.